Hi, this is Dr. Naushad Alam. I welcome you again in my lecture series. Today I'm going to share my view regarding film and literature. Dear friend, film and literature are expression of human mind. Like human has discovered various ways to communicate his ideas, feelings and emotions through various ways. These two concepts, film and literature, are nothing but human discovered way of communicating their ideas. Dear friend, let me define film and literature separately. Then I'll go to discuss these two concepts in detail. Film is basically a field which is more related to photography and painting in the beginning, but slowly and gradually, what we have experienced change or shift, it actually develops slowly and gradually into moving images on a screen, usually with sound that make a story. Or you can say it is basically a visual art form which stimulate experience that communicate ideas, stories it used to have, perception, feelings, beauty, and it portray atmosphere in a wonderful way. By means of recorded or programmed moving images along with sound and other sensory stimulations. Now, on the other hand, literature is a written communication. It may be in poetic shape or dramatic or in the shape of fiction. It always communicates human experience and employs devices of narrative. And not only this, film and literature are two distinct but equally extraordinary work of art, where literature was a popular form of expression during 18th and 19th century. Film has taken its place by the 20th century onwards. See, in the later half of the 19th century, film and literature started coming into uh, connections, but the progress was very slow. By the 20th century, film had established its name and its popularity as well. See, both these arts, film and literature, have certain connections and differences too. Both have a similarity of taking its reader and audience, reader in case of literature and audience in case of film, to a different world, which is either completely unknown or you will feel certain association to some extent with the world either film or literature talks about or takes their readers to. Well, literature has been a way of artistic expression for centuries now. Writers have told tales about God, goddesses, heroes, and their valiant victories, historical epics, romantic tragedies, comic incidents, legendary episodes, and much more than what I have mentioned. Film is by far doing the same thing for quite a few years now. One major strong point in film, which is absent in literature, is the advantage of visually showing the whole picture on a screen that help the audience connect with the moment more closely and of course easily. I would say the reading of literature is monosensory experience. While you are going through literature, it is monosensory experience of readers, whereas watching a movie or film is multi sensory experience emphasizing immediacy. You don't have to like stress your mind to understand the hidden meaning or hidden a symbolical aspect of movie. While going through literature, you will have to stress your mind to understand the suggestive, apparent, and abstract meanings that writer is trying to convey. Literature takes its reader on a journey of imagination that is away from the real world, while film shows such an imaginative world before the audience that they do not have to put much pressure on their minds to delve into their imaginations. As I mentioned before, that to understand literature, you have to put a stress on your mind so that you can understand hidden and suggestive meaning. This is not the case with a film normally, because audience are basically view the film through the imagination of filmmakers. You are not left with so much choice to brood over the concepts or the hidden things, since you, being an audience, go through what filmmaker wants you to achieve. Anyway, to put it in other words, or let me simplify it for you, we can say that literature is an art which is developed through writing, while film brings those writings to life through sound, music, visuals, and actors are the important concepts in film to bring the masses clearly to its audience. Literature has all the meanings hidden in itself that are used to develop a film. Though both are somehow interdependent, both need to be studied in order to completely understand a movie based on a piece of literature. What I mean to say is that you should have studied well the novel or the books, the movie you are going to watch based on it. Then only you can have different. You can differentiate between these two, and what are the common things, I mean similarities and differences. This can only be understood only if you read literature perfectly before watching the movie based on the piece of literature. Moreover, literature has always been a great inspiration for film all over the world. In India, you can take as an example, especially epics like Mahabharata and Ramayana have been created and recreated on the silver screen several times. Novels of renowned Bengali writers, Gujarati writers, writers writing in Urdu, and English writers are made into film. Although it can easily be said that first step of film is literature. This is very surprising. If you hear this particular sentence, that literature is first step of the movie. Because let me answer this. Because once a film is in process of making, it is the script, dialogues, and screenplay that are produced in order to develop it. The production and the technical aspects are secondary in process of filmmaking. What are the primary process? That is script writing, dialogues, and screenplay. Rest of the involvement of technology and other things are secondary in this process of filmmaking. Hence, it will not be wrong to say that literature initiated people to move on to film. There is an extraordinary contribution of one art to the other. How? As history points out, that it was all a world of tales and stories from where Aladdin, Ali Baba and 40 Thieves, Hatim Tai, Cinderella, Snow White, and the Prince and the Pauper originated. And from here, film took its inspiration to develop films based on these stories or part of these stories. There, there have been several filmmakers who have adapted novels, plays, even poetry into film, like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibilities, Sarat Chandra's Devdas, Homer's Iliad and Odysseys, on which films like Troy and O Brother, Where Art Thou are based on. The famous filmmakers and masters of film adaptations, George Millis, has contributed a lot to film adaptations, and the work to his credit is Cinderella and King John, Sherlock Holmes, Baffled was based on Doyle's detective character Sherlock Holmes, and it was first detective movies released in 1900. Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol was adapted frequently. Bimal Mitra's Bengali story Sahib Bibi and Gulam, film by Guru Dutt, proved beyond all shadow of doubts. Omkara you can take for an example, a movie which released in 2006 is based on William Shakespeare very popular play Othello. Then R.K. Narayan's Guide was adopted into Bollywood with the same name, and it has become classics of the same a classic of the period. In fact, now language is the another component that differs from a book and a film. Though there may be similarities in use of language in both of the platforms, film and literature, there are certain distinct disparities between the usage of language in literature and that in the film. The relationship between time and space is also quite different from literature to film. While in literature, event is described as it has happened, films showed as it is happening. Now comes to conclusion. To conclude, I would say a film must not play role of literal visual representation of the book on which it is based. Or what I mean to say is merely copy of literature. Rather, it must have its touch that should be motivational enough for the audience to enjoy. See, though they appears to be different, but they are with a similar goal to create sublimity in human imagination and understanding. Both film and literature work in hand to boost, hand in hand to boost the progress of human civilization. And they are complementary in nature, and one is no substitute to other, like letters and sounds in human communication. Film and literature inspire and enrich each others. They also enable human mind through action, images, words, and replicating life of human being. Well, it comes to an end. Thank you very much.